It's recording. You've got 15 minutes.
This is a small grass carp. You can do this with a grass carp or an Asian carp or buffalo or about any rough fish, but the principle is what we call Y bones. There's one row that runs in the front section of the fish. When you get about to the end of the body cavity, there's another row starts, so there's two rows back in the back half of the fish. Now an Asian carp, a bighead or silver, the body cavity is a lot shorter, so you'll want to cut it on up here farther, but we're going to take it into about where the bones stop, and you can feel and see that there's no second row of bones in this part of the fish, and we'll treat it like two sections. And then basically we're going to cut a piece of meat off the top side of the Y bones, a piece off the bottom side, and then we're going to slice it and thin it down and leave the strip in the middle with the Y bones. So if you look, you can see kind of where some tendons or ligaments kind of come to the surface. They create a line here. So we're going to cut right down along that line, and you'll feel your knife hit bones. And then when we get down here, we'll just slide it off. And this is a small fish, so this won't be a very big piece actually. On a bigger fish it would be more worthwhile, but that's a boneless strip. And then you can see kind of the same line here. If you put your knife right there, and you can actually angle it towards the top on this one and cut through like that, this whole section here will have no bones in it. Now I'll come back and take the red meat out of it, kind of cut it in a V there, and that's just a matter of how clean you want to get it. You can take off every bit of the red meat or just most of it, but I'll cut it down in a V like this and take the red meat, or at least most of it, off. And then that's a boneless piece of meat. You can just slice it up to fry in whatever size pieces you want. And then we got the piece that's left. I said we're going to take a piece off the thickness of it. And you always want to go from the tail portion of the fish to the head portion, because the bones will lie in here at an angle. And if you go tail to head, your knife will slide over them. If you go head to tail, it'll catch on them. So this is the tail portion of the fish. I'm going to slide it around and just basically skim over the top of those bones and get another boneless piece of meat. And then this we're going to discard. It's got all the bones and mostly red meat. And we'll do really the same thing to the tail section. You can see a line right along there. Kind of cut that down with your knife, and then turn your knife sideways. Take a slice off of the top part of the fish, and that's boneless. And then we're going to run our knife right in here and then slide it out. Take another piece off the bottom section of the fish, which is boneless, and then we're going to go tail to head and thin it off like that, and just reduce the thickness of it, and that's boneless. And you can see what's left has got all the bones in it, plus it's red meat. So we're wasting, really throwing some of the fish away, but it's mostly red meat and bones. I'm going to do it once again. Now this is a buffalo. You can do the same thing with a nice buffalo. So I'll go through it, cut the fish in half about here, so there's only one row of bones in the top. You're going to follow this line right here. Put your knife down there and slide it out towards the top. Then you can kind of roll it back down to your cutting board, but we'll get a little piece off the top. And then we're going to come in here, angle the knife this way, and it'll get you more up on the back side. We're going to cut that out. Again, this is all boneless. I'm going to take the red meat out of it, which isn't that bad on a buffalo, or you can leave it in. If you score a fish, you don't take any of the red meat out, but this way it's easy to take out the bulk of it. And again, that's all boneless meat. And then we're going to go back and, as I said before, thin the fish down. This is the head of it, and that's the tail. So we're going to cut from tail to head. Just let your knife click right over the top of those Y bones. You can feel it touching them. and that's a boneless piece of meat. And then we'll go to the tail section. Again, you see the line right there. Run your knife right around that line and it'll hit bone. Just go softly, don't go through them. And then just roll your knife out in the next cut. And that's all boneless. And turn it over to the bottom half of the fish. Do the same thing. And that's all boneless. You can trim it up more if you want, but that's all boneless. Then we'll thin the piece down, going from tail to head. Just let your knife clip right over the, you can feel it touching those tips of those Y bones. And you got a nice boneless piece of meat here. And just cut up whatever size you want. And then again, what's left is throwing some of the fish away, but it's mostly bones and it's mostly red meat. So that's the way we do it anyway.